following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby.
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break.
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, June 9th, 2021, Season 16, Episode number 113. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, and we are presented by Geico. It is our final show before a little bit of a break, and so we're going to get you guys ready for training camp. We're going to play a game for you guys today called What We Know, What We Don't Know. We're going to talk about each position on the team, and these guys are going to tell you what we know coming out of the offseason and heading into training camp and what we don't know about each of those positions to get you ready and give you kind of a roadmap as to what we'll be looking for as the Cowboys enter the 2021 training camp in Oxnard, California later in July. How's everybody doing today?
I'm so good. I'm excited. I thought you weren't going to be with us for the last show, so I'm pumped to see you, AG.
I sent my goodbyes to everyone last week because Nick said no shows on Wednesday, so I was like.
And then she was like, I got more stuff to say.
Yeah, no, I was the one that was kind of up and down on this. Like, I was kind of talked into maybe last week should be the last show, and then I was like, well, no, we should do this one, so that's all on me.
But that's okay. I hope that you guys do a good job at training camp, that you guys give us good information. Don't screw it up. Don't make us believe one thing, and then the season starts, and we see another. So don't mess it up. I'll be judging from the outside.
The foundation has already been laid for her to blame us for anything that goes wrong.
And by the way,
I do it too every year.
By the way, that's gonna happen. Like, it always happens. We always have our camp gladiators, and then we get into the season, and it's like they're not as good as they were in training camp. So that's just the way it goes. We're gonna jump in real quick before we get to our game where we start breaking down this team heading into training camp. I first want to get some camp observations. Cowboys start their mini camp yesterday. They have mini camp yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and then the veterans will leave and not be back until training camp. So what did you guys see yesterday in the practice that happened out here at the Star?
Well, I didn't only watch the few minutes of it. I got here late, so it was one of the most boringest practices I've ever seen. So I really didn't get a good view of it. It wasn't. I don't know. I know we wrote this article of some practice points, but I mean, from what I saw, I got the end of it where it was like helmets off, and it was just like two-hand touch and pulling flags and stuff like that. So I didn't really get to see.
Yeah, they kind of lured us into a false sense of security the first 2 weeks of OTAs. It feels like, because first two practices we got to see were pretty exciting by non-padded standards. Like, there were interceptions and rookies making plays and Dak is back and all this stuff. And yesterday was like the epitome of why you kind of roll your eyes at OTAs, because it was boring. It sucked, to be honest with you. I think it was instructional. They did a lot of situational work, like a lot of the types of situations where they're going through the reps in slow motion and the coaches are literally like out on the field moving guys into the parts of the zone that they want them in and that type of stuff. I'm sure it's beneficial for them. It's just not very exciting for us to look at. And that's probably what 2/3 of it was, other than a couple of some 7-on-7 periods. It was pretty boring. I'm not going to lie.
That's what I was going to say. Like, even though it might be boring for whoever's watching, it's good to hear and see that they're doing these kinds of stuff, because it needs to happen. So I'm glad to see that they are putting in the work and going back to basics. We always talk about, and the players actually talk about that when they mention, oh yeah, this coach is going back to the techniques and basics. Players do like that from what I hear them say. So it's good that they're getting those kinds of basics out there. And even though it's not fun, at least by training camp, things will ramp up and be more exciting to watch.
It doesn't matter that it's boring for us. Not like good. This is what they didn't have last year. Like the instructional on-field stuff. I'm sure you can try your hardest to implement something you learned on Zoom, but being out there and seeing it for yourself, I'm sure matters. So good for them. It's just not super exciting to watch from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah, one of the things I'm actually going to be looking at a lot this year is how much different is this defense than last year? Because I'm a big believer in the fact that there are lots of people out there that can learn by looking and by learning on a chalkboard or whatever kind of thing is in front of them. There are a lot of other people out there that learn best by doing. I'm one of those people. I learn by doing. Anything I'm going to learn, give it to me, let me try it, and I'll learn a lot faster than just listening to you talk about it. And so I'm really interested to see if that's similar to the way a lot of these players are out there, where last year trying to get into a new defensive scheme where all they were doing was just seeing it and not being able to really do it as much, how much that set them back and how much they'll be advanced this year in trying to pick up this defense in situations where they're actually being able to do rather than just here. So we'll see. We'll see how much that makes a difference for this team, but I think that does make a huge difference for a lot of people, myself being included. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our game. We're going to play a game called What We Know, What We Don't Know. All right, I'm going to give you guys a position. I'm just going to toss it up in the air, and then we will start first with telling us what we know, and then we'll get into what we don't know. Let's start first with quarterback. What do we know?
The Dallas Cowboys employ one of the 5 or 6 best in the league, and he's fully healthy, ready to go. Mike McCarthy said they expect him to be completely ready for training camp, like no limitations. He didn't take any off days this year. It would make sense to have him on a schedule. He didn't do that. And they expect him to be ready to do everything by July. So that's what we know.
I love how you just threw out that one of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the league, because you and I and Danny McCray had a long, it probably lasted about an hour conversation about where players on this team rank across the league. And there's probably some argument that people have, but I agree with you. I think he's one of the best 5 or 6 in the league.
Steph Curry is one of the best players in the NBA. And he couldn't get into the playoffs. So I think what we don't know is we don't know how good Dak is. Dak is the leader of this team. We don't know if he's good enough to translate to wins. That's what we don't know. We didn't know it last year. He was 2-3 last year as a starter. So we got it. He's great, and I think he's fully healthy. And I think his tackles will help, in front of him. But we don't know if, with the guys around him, if Dak is good enough to just carry the team to where they need to be. That's what I don't know.
Does he need to?
Yeah.
Carry? I mean, he needs to be good, but this is a really talented offense. When you say carry, I think of early LeBron, who had no help whatsoever.
I think of the press conference that they created out the front for a $40 million quarterback. I think he definitely needs to carry this team. He's been making $2 or $3 million a year, and then last year he made 31. I mean, he's got to carry the team. That's what a $40 million quarterback is supposed to do. Because where else is it coming from? Does he not carry the team?
Well, I guess I hear what you're saying, and I get your point. Yes, when you pay $40 million to a quarterback, you expect that he is going to carry it. But I agree with Dave. I don't think he has to. I think this team has so many weapons. I think it's important for him to make sure he does his job, because it's not this is not the kind of situation where you have a team where the quarterback is everything and everybody else is just kind of if the quarterback doesn't do it, we don't win. I think this is the kind of team where the quarterback has to do his job. I don't think he has to step outside of what he does. They have a really good running game.
Right.
He just got to do his job, I think.
Right, but I'm just saying, going off of what we know, and I don't know if we know he's the top 5 or 6 quarterback. It's what we think, I guess.
It's our opinion.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, he's in the top 5, I guess. He is. I mean, I can't.
I don't know where you were going with that.
He's in the top 5.
All right.
No, I don't know. He's in the top 10. He's in the top 10. I don't want to go through this whole thing about it, because that's a tough argument, because you got young guys. Would you rather have? I mean, is he better than Herbert? Yeah. Who would teams rather have on their team if they were starting a new team? They would probably rather have him, because he's younger and he's got more upside. So it's hard to rank, because would you rather have Dak or would you rather have Tom Brady for the next 5 years?
Dak.
What about for today?
Dak.
To win a game today?
Dak.
Go to Go to the next question.
He's not playing your game.
He's
Tom,
already signed.
Tom Brady threw 3 picks in the NFC Champion. Like,
Yeah, I
come
kinda
on.
agree. I agree with you, Dave. I agree with you.
It's a loaded team. He's not who he was 10 years ago.
Well, that's a great example of what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
He's not carrying that team. Contrary to what a lot of people, the narrative a lot of people try to create for him, he's not carrying that team. That defense carried that team for a lot of last year. It wasn't necessarily Tom Brady. So
He's also arguably got a better receiver core than the Cowboys and the best tight end in history. I mean, or one of them at least. So my only point, like I said,
I'm not going to go into the Dak versus Brady argument.
I mean, Brady's unquestionably had a better career.
Right,
and
but
Brady's highs have unquestionably been better than anything Dak has done. But
By
at
far, yeah.
this point in their careers, which I'm high on Dak, that's fine. But when you say, which we're already in the weeds, one position into this game, but
We won't be
We
like
got
this
time,
at
guys.
tight
when
end.
you
We got
say
time.
carry, I think of LeBron James trying to beat Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker with Delonte West. Like, that's carrying. It's like, hey, you got to score 40, 10, and 10, or we're going to get our asses kicked. Whereas Dak's got to be good. He doesn't have to play at an MVP level for this team to make the playoffs. He's just got to be good,
yeah.
in my opinion.
I forgot what the question was.
We're talking about what we know and what we don't know about the quarterback position.
We know he's signed. We know he's going to be here. We know he's moving around like he hasn't been through an injury like the one that he went through. So that's really impressive, honestly. I honestly did not expect him to be moving around the way that he's been moving around this soon. So it's very promising and exciting to know that he's looking this healthy at this point, and he's apparently going to be ready to go full go during training camp. Hopefully, I mean, when Nick is making the argument about the guys around him, I mean, the only position that I would think you could question would be the O-line, depending on what happens there and if he gets that kind of help and protection from the O-line this year. But other than that, I fully expect Dak to be able to make those throws during the season, be the quarterback that he needs to be, and also be mobile. I don't think that he's going to necessarily be restrained after the injury because of what happened. I think they're going to find a way to utilize him, especially in the red zone. So that I feel like we kind of know, and then we got to know who maybe the backup quarterback, unless McCarthy finds someone after training camp or something and they decide to sign that guy to back up Dak. But as of right now, I feel like we all agree it would be Garrett Gilbert. So that's all we know.
Let's go on to the running back position. What do we know about the running back position?
I mean, we know who's going to play it, but first and second string. Like, I mean, that seems like it's set in stone. Beyond that, I mean,
I think we know that Zeke looks a little bit better right now. I think this offseason will help him because I think he will go into training camp better than he looked last year at training camp. And I think that's probably a lot of players because they weren't doing the same, hopefully. Yeah. But I think with Zeke, I think it matters a little bit more. We've seen some of the videos. We've seen the training. He looks pretty good out here. He hasn't been getting hit, and he certainly hasn't been fumbling, which is what he's got to fix. But I think there will be. You just get the sense. I get the sense, at least, and I haven't even talked to him, but I get the sense that he hears all the voices. Mm-hmm. He knows. He knows when we put out an article later this summer about where Zeke ranks against the running backs on this schedule. We do it for quarterbacks. We do it for running backs. I don't think Zeke's going to be in the top 5 of that. No.
What?
There's 5. You're probably right.
I think there's 5 running backs.
Give me 5 running backs on this schedule that's better than
Zeke.
Zeke.
Well,
let me think through the schedule real quick. I mean, Cook comes to mind immediately.
Okay,
Cook,
I'm good with that.
McCaffrey and Barkley.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're still going to put Barkley because he hasn't even started practicing yet.
Yeah.
Are you still going to put him above Zeke?
It's a good question.
I think he probably will be. Yeah.
I mean, maybe he will be. I'm just saying, right now, I'm not willing to put him there just because I don't even know if.
You think the Cowboys are more scared of Barkley than Giants are scared of Zeke?
2 years ago, maybe.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Today, I don't know. No. I don't. Right now, I would think I'm not that scared until I see
Kamara,
Yeah.
definitely.
I mean, it's right there. He's right there in at 5.
I think he and Kamara, to me, they're about the same.
I think that's crazy.
I don't see Kamara as much better than Zeke. I'm sorry.
I vehemently disagree with you, just based on what they did last year.
That's fine, but I see Kamara as I will be interested to see, is Kamara the same quality back without having the benefit of the passing game that they've had to this point, because I don't think they're going to have that kind of passing game anymore. So I want to see, is Kamara able to do things when teams aren't having to pay attention to Drew Brees at quarterback and the receivers he's got out there.
Brees has missed a decent number of games the last 2 years, and they've leaned on him in a big way.
I get it.
He's come through.
I get it.
His game against Seattle 2 seasons ago was incredible, but
he's still.
Well, I mean, if we're going to go back a couple seasons, I think Zeke had some pretty good performances a couple seasons ago as well. I mean, I don't see them as. All I'm saying is I don't see them as completely different. I think they're both really good quarterbacks. I mean, really good running backs.
I think after that, you can just kind of make the argument. I mean, the Raiders running back Jacobs. He's pretty good too. I mean, so the Chiefs back. Those guys, for what they do in their offense, I think they're kind of all comparable. I mean, I think Zeke is right there. Now, where does that rank? Like top 5 in the league? I mean, I know Henry's not on the schedule.
Right? Yeah.
And the Colts running back, he's pretty good. Yeah, Taylor.
Again, I don't put him above.
Zeke. No, we're getting into the part where I don't put those guys above.
Okay,
Zeke,
I'm just saying about. My point is I think other than Henry, you're pretty much facing the best backs.
Yeah, I agree with
that. For this season, I might be missing 1 or 2, but that's pretty much the case. So I think of what we know, I think he looks good. What we don't know is will it matter? I mean, when you get to the season, but.
Yeah, that's like I get it. I kind of had a hard time saying what I was thinking, and it's just because like we know Zeke and we know Tony too, for that matter. We know who they are, we know their strengths, we know their weaknesses. I think Zeke's a much better player than he looked last year, but I don't know that he's going to be better. So I'm just like, well, like we know who they are, we know that they're going to get the ball, we know that they're probably not going to get a heavy workload in the preseason. Just see you week 1, and hopefully it looks better than it did last year.
One other thing I'll point out, and I want your opinions on this, I don't quite know what they're going to do with Tony Pollard. I think he deserves more opportunities. I just don't know where they're going to come from. You got 3 wide receivers that you really like. You got Zeke. You got two tight ends that you really like. Like, where is it going to come from? Where are you going to find opportunities for a guy like him? By the way, where are you going to find opportunities for the 2 tight ends? I've heard. I think someone said last week that there's a possibility they may use 2 tight ends on some packages. I'm like, that'll be nice to have in the playbook, but I don't think I'm expecting to see a lot of that.
Who are your 2 tight ends? You talking about Schultz and Jarwin?
Yeah. I think both of them will probably deserve opportunities. I think Tony deserves opportunities. So my question becomes like, how many opportunities can you give them? Is just because you have so many skill position players.
If I have a position of need that in training camp that I've got to go trade for, I'm throwing Schultz out there as a trade bait. Yeah, last year of his contract, probably not going to re-sign. He's coming off 60 catches. I don't think he's dynamic. I think he benefited from the guys around him. He's not down the field breaking down one-on-ones. He's sitting. He's smart enough to sit there and make some good plays. He gets himself open, but I don't think he's a guy that you would lean on. So if one of these young tight ends does something like they typically do, they typically play well and will catch your eye or something like that. Jarwin comes back, Sprinkle does his job and all that. Then yeah, I think it's a position that you might be able to trade for if somebody needs a tight end or something like that.
I'd rather not. I like the idea of having both of them. And actually, our mailbag is about this today. I looked it up, and it's skewed because of all the injuries last year. But they ran 12 personnel 21% of the time last year. Like they really leaned into 11 personnel, understandably.
Was that also? Okay.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like injuries are part of that. They didn't have Jarwin. So now, with Jarwin and Schultz available, I think you could tick that up even maybe north of 30% if you wanted to. And I think it all works. Jarwin, you can also flex him out and use him as a big receiver if you want to. Like, I don't worry about the passing game. I think there's plenty of opportunities for all of that. Tony's interesting. They're not going to use him in the passing game in any sort of creative sense. I got to see that to believe it. But
yeah, I saw you say the other day you're not believing that. Even though you started practice,
he was out there running slants yesterday. But there's 5 injured receivers. Show me this in the season. I don't care what you're doing in the spring. But
That's why he's practicing now.
No, he's practicing now because nobody else. He's practicing because Amari's wearing Jordans right now. Like Amari's not practicing, and like half of the rookies are hurt right now.
Well, when the time comes, he can be ready in case they decide to be creative with him in the passing game.
Again,
In
I'll
case
believe
they
it.
decide to be.
I will believe it
That's a
when I see
good
it.
problem to have.
It is,
when you
it
have
is.
so many different weapons, you give that to Kellen Moore, who he showed last year several different plays that were pretty creative. So I think that, and again, this is us expecting that all of these guys are going to be healthy throughout the whole year. And we know with injuries, they can happen whenever. So I think that they are going to be able to find a way to utilize Tony Pollard. And we talked about it last year for so long. Zeke versus Pollard, and how many plays do you give to Tony now that he's playing better than Zeke at that point? But I think Zeke is going to be better this year than last year, and they are going to be able to utilize both of them and be productive. I really, really believe so, especially after what Tony Pollard showed last year. I think that gives them more confidence to be able to create plays that are designed for both of them and to be able to have maybe different occasions, both of them on the field.
Yeah, I think we all expect Zeke to be better this year. I think the key will be, can he hold on to the ball? Because that was probably the part of his game last year that suffered the most. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to jump in. We'll talk some more about tight end, wide receiver, and offensive line. What we know, what we don't know. We'll do that when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Cooler weather makes it easier to work outdoors, and we can make it even easier. With our Buckaroo package that features a 3025E 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, box blade, and a trailer for $295 per month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay. No surprises. What could be easier?
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now, let's get to work.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at Stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
Cowboys cheerleaders dance youth camps are back this summer for athletes and dancers for all skill levels. That's the Dallas Cowboys football, cheer, and dance youth camps. Today and 3-day camps are available with new dates added at AT&T Stadium and the Star in Frisco. Spots are limited. Register today at DallasCowboys.com/academy.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We are presented by Geico, and we're talking about what we know, what we don't know heading into this 2021 Dallas Cowboys training camp that will begin in Oxnard, California later this summer. We have talked about the quarterback and the running back position. Let's talk about tight end. Nick, you mentioned what you would do if you got into the preseason. I mean, if you got in the training camp and had some other options there.
I like Schultz.
Yeah.
I think I liked Schultz before anyone else did. I do like him, but I don't think he was a huge difference maker. I mean, I think he sat in the zone and caught the ball, and it was a safety valve and all that. But I don't think he's a guy that you go into the season and go into game plans and teams are really worried about. I think he benefits, and just like Jarwin's going to benefit, this offense with guys around him, you're going to benefit for being. But Jarwin's a little bit more explosive down the seam, and will be a better player. But I don't see you guys keep saying 12 personnel, 2 tight ends. I don't think this is a good setup. These 2 guys aren't good blockers. Usually, one of them is a better blocker. So this particular 12 personnel, just because they're tight ends, I don't think they benefit. I don't think they could just run over people because Jarwin and Schultz are in the game. So that's why I think it's a 1 and 3 situation. You know, you have
Who
the
do you
one.
consider a better blocker?
Sprinkle's got to be a better blocker.
If you had to choose between those 2, though, who do you think's the better blocker?
Oh, of the 2?
Yeah.
Probably Schultz.
Probably Jarwin, but it's that close. I mean, it's that.
I think of him similarly.
Yeah.
I kind of agree, and I
who?
thought one, huh?
With which one?
I agree that it's
Similar.
kind of close. There's not, honestly, I don't think there's a big difference between the 2 when it comes to blocking. And to be honest with you, what I saw last year from Schultz, I'm not sure that even as pass catchers, I see a huge difference between them. Like Schultz made some plays down the field. He made some plays that he had to show some athleticism. And sometimes after he got the ball in his hands, he showed some athleticism. So I don't know that I thought before last year, and I was one of those people, before we even got to last year, I was like, why is he still on the team? He showed me a lot last year. I think he's just as good as Jarwin. I don't think you lose anything one versus the other.
I just think from 20 yards down the field, I think it takes about 12 steps for Schultz to get there. I think it takes about 7 for Jarwin.
Wow, that's a big difference.
I don't agree with you for whatever that's
maybe
worth.
that's an
I
exaggeration.
think he is a little slow.
But I'm talking about just how quickly he gets down the field. I mean, Jarwin, he just eats up yards, and that's why his average is pretty high. So everybody was excited about what they were going to get out of him last year, and I think it'll be. I just think he is more of a difference maker than Schultz. But I give Schultz credit for what he did last year.
And Schultz made some plays downfield last year. Like he had a nice touchdown against Atlanta, Cleveland, probably 20, 25 yards down the field. Like he did it, but I disagree with you. Like I agree with Nick. Jarwin has a little bit more of an explosive element to his game, like what he can do in the seam. If you remember the Yak touchdown that he had against the Giants a couple years ago where he caught it.
Yeah.
It was like a 10-yard catch, but he scored a 30-yard touchdown. Mm-hmm. He just outran everybody and slipped a tackle too. Like I think he's a better athlete, just bottom line, and that's exciting. But if he can get down the seam with all the attention you got to pay to everybody else.
But when the season started, everyone was excited about Jarwin and said the stats will be 64 catches for 500 yards, 5 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns, which is that's Schultz's numbers.
Yeah.
I think everyone would have been excited about that. So I'm not trying to talk out of both sides of my mouth, but I just think there's upside is still a little bit more. That's probably the best you're going to get out of Schultz. Probably.
I do think he's still a young and developing player. And so I think last year was just the year where he broke out, mainly because he got opportunities. And I think we saw from him last year that he is more than adequate in this offense to play that role.
Okay, to answer the question, what we don't know, and I'll say that what we don't know about them is how those 2 guys will work together and benefit the Cowboys as a 12 personnel. Those 2, when they're both in the game, are you worried about the team's worried about the way they run the ball because there are 2 tight ends in there? That's what I don't know.
Yeah, and it would be disappointing if you had to run, which no disrespect to Jeremy Sprinkle, but if you had to take one of them off the field to use multiple tight ends, or if you had to use like big 11, like use Jarwin as your slot receiver and take one of those receivers off the field, I don't like the sound of that.
Dude was a baller in college, though.
Huh?
Sprinkle?
As a pass catcher,
right? And
he's had a decent. Like his stats are not terrible for a guy who's never been, a starting caliber tight end. I mean,
I guess that's my point. Like I think if you see 12 personnel, I think it's actually going to be with one of those 2 plus Sprinkle.
Yeah,
I think that's the where you get an advantage because you have one that can literally stay in and block if you needed him to. So
and this team let's do not forget about Sean McEwen. They like him.
Yeah.
And if you watch some practice out there, he seems like he's always doing something. I know Jarwin's not out there, but McEwen is a guy that, they like, and we'll see about any rookies. The TCU tight end, Lynn maybe?
Don't make me say his name.
No,
right
I think
now,
it's like number 47.
And they got a kid from Michigan, too.
Looks the part.
Yeah.
He looks the part.
Nick Eubanks.
Nick Eubanks, yes. That's
the guy that
Michigan
gets
guy.
off the bus. He's that kind of guy.
I don't know about Eubanks. I'm talking about
That's 47.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, who's Artavius Lynn?
No, you're
That's
right.
49.
He's the
49.
Oh, okay. There you go.
49. That's the one. He that has like 20 catches in his career at TCU. You know, they weren't like feeding him the ball, but yeah.
All right.
That's,
Let's.
I guess I just don't know what it's going to look like, really.
We did talk about tight end a lot.
Yeah.
I thought this is where we would make up some ground on the quarterback.
Look, we got time. We got plenty of time. We can get through all of these, I think. No problem.
You say so.
All right, let's go to wide receiver. You say so. Let's go to wide receiver. What do we know? What do we don't know?
We know that they have arguably the best receiving core in the league. I think only Tampa, not even Tennessee, even with Julio. Like, I mean, they don't have they don't have the best duo, but they arguably have the best trio in the league. I think really only Tampa can compete.
There's another team I was thinking that had a good trio too, and I can't remember who it was.
I'll take Dallas against damn near anybody, if not everybody.
I mean, sometimes that third guy is just there because, like, whoever the third guy in Tennessee is, I don't even know.
Me neither. That's my point.
Or some, I don't know.
Whoever
it is.
There are 4 or 5 teams that have a better duo than the Cowboys, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's Tennessee, Tampa, obviously can say that.
And the Cowboys duo is undefined. I mean, we could go around the table and probably have different. I mean, is it CD and
I think it's clear as CD and Cooper, right?
Clear?
I think so.
I don't know.
Oof, that's tough because like I'm the guy that's always like, stop disrespecting Michael Gallup. But like, if you made me pick 2 of the 3, I think
Gallup is a really good receiver, and I will tell you this: I'm very interested to see. And Nick, you and I talked about this yesterday. I'm very interested to see how he performs this year because he is in that range where there may be a team out there that looks at how he performs this year and says, we'll pay him 1 or 2, number 1, number 2 wide receiver money. And it'll make it tough for the Cowboys in that situation unless they're planning to move on from, say, Cooper.
Right.
And it'll make a tough decision for the Cowboys of which one they value more where they are in their career. So I think he's right there on that cusp of that kind of guy.
What we know, CeeDee Lamb will be on the roster in 2022.
Yeah.
What we don't. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure about Cooper. He is under contract, right?
Yeah.
But they could get out of it.
His guarantees are done.
Yeah.
They front loaded the heck out of that contract.
Man, I mean, he was so good last
Well, we
year.
don't have to worry about that this
We don't have
year.
to worry about it. He had 3.
We don't have to talk about that this year.
Knock on wood. Yeah, I mean, not like 2022 is going to bring a whole host of questions, but knocking on wood.
Yeah, we're talking about training camp.
They have arguably the best trio in the league. They are all healthy and in their prime and look like they're ready to light the league on fire, And I know
got their quarterback back.
Yeah, and it didn't come with, even when Dak was there, we know they had a losing record. I get it, yada, yada. But they were prolific. Like, they were all on pace for like 1,200 yards before Dak got hurt. I said this on the radio the other day. Big LSU homer here. But even I'm kind of like, let's settle down on the Justin Jefferson hype because he got to play a whole season with the right circumstances. CD had a fantastic season, and I mean there were drops. He had some problems. It wasn't all perfect, but I think people would be talking about him a lot more if he had better circumstances. Yeah. And people are like, well, why did all these other receivers get drafted before Justin Jefferson? I'm like, just wait a minute. Like, let's just wait a year and see if you're still saying that when CD gets to go through year 2 with Dak and have a better offense.
And I'll say this, one of the things about receivers for me is in their rookie year, I know there are going to be challenges because that's the nature of going to the NFL, but look at the kind of catches they make. That'll tell you a lot about what you can project them to be. And some of the catches he made, I don't know if 90% of the receivers in the NFL can make.
He would have won.
He
Rookie
made some
of the
amazing
year.
catches.
He would have won Rookie of the Year with 1 catch that he dropped.
That touched.
Against Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Yeah.
I mean, I hate calling it a drop. It was 55 yards down the field, and I didn't really know Andy Dalton could sling it like that. But right before the half, remember that Hail Mary? I mean, if he went up and snagged that would have been one of the highlights of the year.
Yeah.
I'm not saying maybe he doesn't beat Jefferson. His numbers were incredible, but here's one more point about Gallup. I would do everything I could to re-sign him if I'm the Cowboys. What I like about him, not anything to do with on the field. He's great there. He's a deep threat, but he is he is not the prototype when it comes to diva wide receivers. He likes to share the ball. He likes to be a part of this. He even said one game, was it? I had 100 yards at the half. Somebody else needs to.
It was Philly.
He has that mentality where he's not a problem. It's not a problem. If Harper had a lot of great plays in a game, that's good for the Cowboys. But Michael Irvin had a problem with it. Not saying that they didn't like each other. I'm saying Michael wanted the ball. And you can say there was a dog mentality and all that. And I still think Gallup has it. But I think he is a great, great fit for other star receivers. And I would do what I could to re-sign him.
Hell yeah. It just sounds hard. It sounds tough to do. And that's,
maybe more than Cooper, then, is what I'm really saying.
Okay.
I mean, he's really got to have a subpar year, or the Cowboys have to make a tough decision between him and Cooper, right? There is no in between. If he has a great year, then I think it's going to be very difficult to sign him to a contract that other teams aren't willing to beat. And then it becomes a situation, does he just want to be here for less money? Mm-hmm. But I don't suspect that's going to be the case. So all that being said, like it's a tough situation to be in with a guy like that in a three-way. I mean, he's got 3 wide receivers on this team that are all really good.
This goes back to my, we had that argument with Danny McCray. I think, I love Coop, but this is where I'm like, well, let's put some respect on Amari Cooper too, because I think he's a top 10 receiver in the league.
I do too.
And people kind of balk at me when I say that. He's not Hopkins. He's not top 3. And the disappearing acts, the road problems, that's all fair. But that last season, coming off what he did, really only had one bad game, and it was when DiNucci was the quarterback. He was consistent.
And everybody
had a bad game that night. It was one of the worst professional football games I've ever watched in my life.
Right, it was bad.
But week after week, he's a route technician. He's a deep threat. I think not enough people appreciate how good Amari Cooper really is. So and we can never predict it. Like, maybe he gets hurt and misses 8 games, and then all of a sudden it is a tough conversation. But if they get 17 weeks of what Cooper did last year, I don't think it's even close in terms of who I'd rather have. No offense to Mike.
I agree. You know what? Going back to focusing on this year specifically, and going back to Nick's point about like Michael Gallup and how he is, that's one of the things that I was going to mention that I really like about this group is that it's like a quiet group. And even though, to me, many, many times last year, I would forget about Amari Cooper. Like, he wouldn't make necessarily like really flashy plays. And it was like, wait, how much has he played? And then you look at the end of the game, the stats, and you're like, oh crap. Okay. So, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, that's great when you have guys that don't necessarily are causing that much attention, but they're being really productive on the field. And those 2 guys, I think that CeeDee Lamb, he can become that kind of diva guy. He has the attitude and the skill for it. He could become that. He isn't that yet or anything. But I think that because he's surrounded by 2 guys like that, it's pulling him back as far as maintaining that teammate thing, that it just works. It just works, and they're fine with spreading things around with each other and not taking, I need more plays or whatever. I think that right now I just love how this trio works. And I love CeeDee Lamb's attitude and the fact that he's talking about being more aggressive for next year and some of the things that we have been able to see during these practices. I mean, it's freaking impressive, the fact that he's still looking like that. And this is just the beginning for him. So it's really, really exciting to see that the Cowboys do have this trio for this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the reason why Cooper isn't as respected, I think sometimes, or at least not put in that category across the league with those great receivers, is because he's not as flashy. He makes things that are not ordinary look easy. And so I think people just kind of think, oh, well, he was just open. Well, there's something he did to get open to make that play, and I just think that's a part of his game that people don't respect as much as they should. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the offensive line. What do we know? What do we don't know?
Well, what do we don't know? Probably is Tyron Smith. We don't
know Joe Looney. Is he coming back?
We don't know about the center position.
This is the position where we probably got more I don't knows. I know, and that's interesting to say on a team like this with that defense. Right?
Don't know how many games Tyron's going to play.
Zach Martin's going to line up at right guard. He'll be there. That's I mean, you know, like this is what
I was saying. I thought you were done. But.
Oh no, sorry. This is the epitome of optimism season, and it's exciting. You know, Tyron, he's talked multiple times in the last week. He's in a fantastic mood. Like he's smiling from ear to ear. Oh yeah, no, I like he's not a jerk, but he's just kind of a low key stoic guy, and he's just
quiet.
Yeah. He seems to be much more bubbly, which is never a word that I thought I would use.
Best to ever do it. Never said a word.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
The best to ever do it. Never said a word.
Yeah. No, that's not
Even
uncommon.
when he was going in the Hall of Fame. It's just a quiet.
I don't know, man.
No,
when he went
his
to the
speech
Hall of
was
Fame,
incredible.
the speech
Larry
was pretty
Allen's
awesome.
speech was
Larry
great.
Allen. Remember he said him and his wife came and got him some chicken and a 40.
Yeah, that was funny.
And he knew she was the one.
That's funny.
That was good.
My point is, this is the time of year, like everybody feels great, like the surgery went amazing, and I feel awesome, and Tyron's going to play till the wheels fall off. That's what he said yesterday, and I hope that's true, but I don't know it. That's all. Same thing goes for Lyle. Honestly, like hip injuries, that sounds really scary when your whole job is leveraging gigantic, strong people. So. Man, I think they're going to hold up. I've been bullish on them this whole time, and everything we're seeing suggests that they're in a good spot, but you just don't know, and that's scary. I don't want to be in. Where are we going week 2? LA. I don't want to be in LA and 2 quarters into the second game of the year we're talking about this again. I hope that doesn't happen, but we just don't know.
Please don't.
Well, we know that Zach Martin can do a good job at tackle, so
yeah,
that's one thing we do know. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, there are many things we don't know for this whole group.
We know that. I think this group has the potential to be their best line in a few years because of this injury. It hasn't been that's 5 years ago that the Dallas line had this amazing reputation, but I think they have the potential, probably not as good as like Cleveland or some of these other great lines that have come up in the last few years, but much better than what we've gotten used to seeing since 2017.
I think this team has a borderline problem at center. And I don't like what they have at center.
You're not a fan of their young guy?
No.
You don't like what Andy Dalton said.
No, but no, I don't like the fact that you're putting all your eggs in the basket of Biotish, a 5th round pick who got hurt in pregame warmups last year with his hamstring injury. That bothers me too. And then who's the backup? Farniok? Why don't they put Connor Williams over there at least to try? I don't know.
Or Connor McGovern.
Too.
He was a 4th round pick, just that. But I mean,
who?
Biotish.
Did I say 5th?
They traded up. Yeah, I mean, he was pick 146. It's not a big difference.
I always think he's 5th round. Sorry,
I've been saying. I keep saying Simi Fajoko's a 6th. He's a 5th. Once you get to day 3, it just blurs together. It's fine.
Looks like an 8th.
But I thought I thought in opportunities where Biotish played last year, I thought he played okay for a rookie on that offensive line.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I played okay for a rookie. I think that's right. That's what the standard, and you hope that he's going to get better and all that. But if not, then what? I don't like the position as it stands right now. I need, even if it's a backup, if it's Joe Looney, whoever, I need a backup that will be like, if we have to play him, he's played 4 or 5 years. I need that journeyman guy that can at least back him up. Mm-hmm. It can't be Farniok as the guy, or even McGovern. So there's something about this position that's just unsettling right now. And
we did a whole segment on it last week. We don't have to do it again, but their whole thing, always, every position is like, we're going to try to create competition. And at center, we got Tyler. And if that doesn't work, we got 4 guys who did this 5 years ago in college. That's, even McGovern's taken snaps in OTAs a few times. He's never done it in a meaningful situation. Mm-hmm. Connor Williams, I don't know if he's ever played center in a game, even in college, because he was All-American tackle. So it's just weird to think that's what they would go to training camp with, which is why we talked about Joe Looney. And for A, because I think they need the competition, and B, because we all like Joe. I hope he is on the plane when they eventually get ready to go. But
I'm okay if he's your backup I'm okay if he's your backup because I love him as a backup. I mean, center, guard. He goes to the game. He can fill in at any spot. And if Biadasz is the guy, beats him out, and they really want him to win the job, but Looney's right there kind of behind him, pushing him, I'm fine with that. I'd feel better about it, but it can't be Farniok pushing Biadasz. I mean, I don't know. It's just unsettling.
This might be a dumb question, but I'm not trying to be funny or anything. How difficult is it really to find decent offensive linemen? Because, I mean, I feel like every year, whether it's the tackle position or maybe, I mean, guard hasn't been questioned as much as, I mean, Connor Williams has been questioned during his time here. But now center, I feel like every year there's always a big doubt whether it on whatever side of the line that the Cowboys have. And it makes me wonder about the rest of the NFL. I don't really keep up with kind of what their backups are. Or
other than quarterback and pass rusher, I mean, it's absolutely one of the hardest things to do is to, especially more so tackle. Like and that's what centers tend not to get drafted highly. Kind of going the nose tackle argument.
You can kind of fill that in.
When they drafted Travis 31st overall, everybody freaked out saying you could get him in the 3rd round because centers are undervalued. But just in general, like finding quality offensive linemen is very hard to do, mainly because the differences in blocking schemes to college, what they ask their players to do, the caliber of players they go against. So, I mean, this is a league-wide problem. Like if your top 5 get hurt, you're typically in a world of trouble. That's not just the Cowboys.
And last year they had a lot of injuries, and it was at those 2 premium positions at tackle, right and left tackle. So I think it's a hard position to be able to find. Let's go ahead and take our final break. When we come back, I want to jump to the defensive side of the ball. We're going to talk about what we know and what we don't know. We'll do that when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar and a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Back to the break.
Don't miss your chance to see the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium this season. A limited number of single-game, standing-room-only tickets are now on sale. Get yours today at DallasCowboys.com/tickets.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're presented by Geico. It is our final segment before we take a little break, and we're going to finish up talking defense. Let's start with the defensive line. What do we know? What do we don't know?
Can we just do the whole defense and be like, we don't know anything? We don't know.
You know some things. Come on.
I know that they have one.
I know.
Oh, go ahead.
Randy Gregory is having his best offseason he's ever had.
True.
Because he's having an off season.
Whatever.
We're starting. We set the bar low.
I know that Micah Parsons is looking to be a badass.
Okay.
He is.
All right.
Everything that he's shown so far in the way.
These backups,
Yeah.
backup tackles and stuff like that. Like, no, he needs to go up against Zach Martins and those guys.
I don't know. I don't know what any of it's going to look like. Like, I do. Yeah, Randy Gregory is having a great offseason because it's the first time he's ever had one. Micah Parsons does look really exciting, but like, do I know how much he's going to be on the field? Do I know what his role is? Not really. He's doing a little bit of everything. Do I know, DeMarcus Lawrence is a rehab guy right now. He's not really practicing, which is fine. I don't care, but I'm not seeing him. They rotate the defensive line and switch the alignment every other rep. I mean, they're doing it. Looks, I hate saying this because it's a bummer, but it looks a lot like last year in terms of, the 4-man front and then the dropping and the 3-man front, and they're using different personnel. I don't know.
I think Brent Urban is going to be more of a factor on the defense than
Dave's been saying that.
Yeah.
That's right.
I got to give you credit. You've been saying that.
I know. I know.
I know when we go up to Canton for the Hall of Fame game and all that, they're going to be sizing Bohanna's like bust and stuff like that. To just get him ready.
Getting him ready. Yeah. They're not putting him in.
No, not putting him in.
Ready.
But see, even with Brent Urban, who he's gonna. I think he's gonna be one of your base ends when they do the 3-4 stuff. Again, I think he can kick inside, but I don't know how good he's going to be. I think he's got the potential to be good. I think he'll probably be one of your predominant starting defensive linemen, but I don't know. And maybe, I'm gun shy because of what we always talk about of like hyping people up too much.
Yeah. Is this one of the, like I'm speaking specifically about the inside part of the defensive line. Is this one of the few positions on this team, maybe other than that in safety, where right now we could probably go around the table and we would have different names as to who we even think are going to be the starters. Like there aren't a lot of starting jobs up for grabs. Defensive tackle, I can't tell you that the 2 guys that were starting there last year will be the 2 guys starting there this year.
Right, one of them's not practicing. Tristan Hill.
Right,
and then Neville Gallimore. He's going to get in there, and
which we penciled them in as the starters because they were high draft picks and they were here. If they started more than one game together, it couldn't have been more than one.
No, Gallimore
Tristan was hurt by the time Gallimore came on, so like it's not even like that is an experienced
Woods,
duo.
Crawford, those guys played in there.
Yeah,
Urban will factor in. Odigizua. He's gonna,
and Chauncey Golston has been kicking inside.
Carlos Watkins.
I mean, he's your other base end right now. When they do 3-man fronts,
and Quinn played a little bit of.
He played a nose. Didn't he?
He'll line up in there.
Little nose.
It's weird to think about. We haven't seen Tristan, and they never stay the same. So like Watkins will be out there in the 3-man front, and then he comes off, and somebody else comes in when it's a 4-man front, or maybe he's played some one in a 4-man front too. Like it makes my head spin trying to keep track of it all, and they don't even have their full allotment of guys. So I couldn't hope to tell you what their rotation will be when it matters. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't know everything.
Anything. We don't know very much.
I know they got a lot of guys who you couldn't call proven. I get Urban is like the one. He's been in the league for 8 years. He's got a pretty good reputation for what he does, which is stop the run and eat up blocks. And that's the closest I think you can come to a guy with a proven reputation.
I think what sets the defensive line apart is when you have a third guy that does something, a defensive end. You gotta have a stud rusher, and he's got to play like one and have the stats like one and get the reputation where draw the double teams. And we'll see if D-Law can do that. And then you got another guy on the other side if he can make a difference, like he shows he can. But then if you get a third guy that comes in and can do maybe 5 or 6 sacks a season, that's if Basham can be that player, then I think the defense can be much improved. And he has the potential to be that guy.
All right, let's move on to the linebacker position. What do we know? What do we don't know? We know, as Amber said, Parsons will be a badass, but
What?
He's
No,
looking to be
we
a-
don't know that.
We don't
Hey,
know
Well,
that.
Amber knows that. Let's
I
say
said
Amber
he
said.
is
We
looking
don't know
to
that.
be a badass.
Okay,
He's
all right.
looking to be a badass. He's shown the flexibility in the different positions, how they've been kind of moving him around. He's looking to be that like someone who can actually help create some pressure and get to the quarterback. So that's exciting. When you talk about, getting sacks, I think he's looking to be like someone who's going to start. I'm sorry.
This is coming from the woman who, like at the end of the summer or in October, she's going to be the one that's pissed off if it doesn't go the way that she wants it to go.
Because he looks so good in OTAs.
Yeah. Oh, he does,
cannot
by
be
the way.
any worse than last year at linebacker. This
I'm with
cannot
you on
be
that.
any worse than what we saw
He
last year.
does look great at OTAs. Like he's intercepting passes. He's getting his hand on the ball. He killed Garrett Gilbert yesterday. Like if it had been a live rep, he would have killed him. I actually screamed because he got off the line so fast. He was in the backfield before Ty Nsekhe even got out of his stance. He was already back there.
Swing tackle, ladies and gentlemen.
Like by the time Garrett Gilbert had the ball in his hands and looked up, Parsons was there, and it was exciting.
That is what is exciting to me. The fact we haven't seen him in real NFL football game, which the speed we know it goes way up. But as of right now, that's one of the exciting things for me is seeing his speed, which is something that to me was lacking last year at the linebacker position. And again, we haven't seen it in a real game, which changes everything. But as of right now, I'm excited to see the kind of speed that he's showing and maybe what that's going to look like in an actual NFL game.
I need 4 preseason games from him. I mean, and not 4 for everybody, but for Micah Parsons, I want to see him in 4 games because he hasn't played any footballs in 2 years. So I think he needs to, not a lot. I'm not talking about a bunch of time, but I think just the speed of the game, even though preseason is different, it's still fast. It's way faster than anything he's ever experienced, anything he's experienced in a year and a half. So I think it's important to kind of get him out there in different roles, and I think the preseason games will benefit him as much as anybody, especially for a number 12 overall pick. You would think it's more get in and get out, which it will be, but I still think he needs to play some of these games a little bit more than normal guys would.
All I'm willing to say I know is that other than quarterback, this is the position that they've invested in the most. And it's kind of crazy when you think about it. $13 million a year, Jalen Smith, 19th overall pick, Leighton Vander Esch, 12th overall pick, Micah Parsons, the best free agent signing of the year, $5 million, Keanu Neal, 4th round pick, Jabril Cox. Like, they know they
put resources.
They know it's a problem.
Yeah.
And hopefully that does something to fix it.
And we're not talking about it like we talked about the wide receiver position. That's what's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Receiver,
You invested all that.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
I really wish I knew a lot more for how much money they've spent on it.
All right, let's finish this up with the secondary. What do we know? What do we don't know?
Well, you mentioned Keanu Neal, and I wanted to ask you guys, what have you guys seen from him? I feel like I don't know much, and that's a guy we talked a lot about him during the offseason. So, I mean,
I like what I've seen a lot. The only thing that gives me pause is just I don't know how they make it all work with all these other linebackers, but he's out there a lot in nickel. He's out there a lot. Like, I think he's going to be one of their passing down guys. Like, if it's third and more than 4 or 5, I think he's going to be on the field. He adds, going back to the speed thing. I mean, if him and Micah Parsons are on the field together, that is a fast linebacker core. And I mean, he was a strong safety in Atlanta for most of his career anyway. Like, that's what he does. Like, he said that a week or so ago. He was like, in my head, I've been a linebacker for a long time. Like, that's basically what they asked me to do. Somebody posted a video clip of him yesterday on Twitter meeting Leonard Fournette in the hole and just stopping him cold. I mean, he's got that kind of power and ability. He looks good to me.
He looks the part.
Yeah, I just, again, have fun figuring out how these guys all rotate. But he's a linebacker until something like he is not playing safety at all. For anybody that wants to know, he hasn't done it once.
That's the thing. I'm like, we kind of need some help back there in the backfield.
So
and he's a guy with talent.
Is that what we know or what we don't know about the secondary? Like, there's lots of questions there.
Kazee and Curse have been the guys that have been here the most, and they've been playing together, and they've been the guys, the first team starters. And if you're out there wondering where Donovan Wilson is, I mean, he hasn't participated as much, in the voluntary.
Is there any injury?
No, but remember now, it was voluntary, and this is not normal. You have the president of the NFLPA and players committee saying that we shouldn't do this. So players had their own thoughts on how they did stuff, and I don't even know the deal with Donovan Wilson. I just know he didn't participate a lot. He's out here though in the mandatory.
This is mandatory.
He's here.
He's out here.
They're holding him out. They're calling it knee soreness. And he's been at OTAs.
Yeah, he's been here.
He hasn't been here for as much of just the off-season, like pre-spring stuff as some other guys have.
I guess what I'm saying is don't get the Sharpie out for putting him in as the starting safety. Even though we kind of thought that he was doing all that, and I don't think they're looking at it like, well, he has to be the guy. He's going to factor into this because he's a playmaker. And
even positions that are up for grabs at this point, it's like who's going to win it.
He's got to go get it, though.
Even before he hurt his knee, Curse was getting reps with Kazee ahead of him. He was mixing in, and I'm not trying to assign strings in the spring, but Curse is getting a heavy look. I'm going to go as far as to say I know who the cornerbacks are going to be, at least at the start of the season. I really feel that way. I think Kelvin Joseph or Nashawn Wright would have to do something incredible to pass up Anthony Brown, Trayvon Diggs, and Jordan Lewis, at least at the outset of the season. And Nashawn Wright has looked great.
Right, yeah.
He's had a great spring, but he's
still the spring.
He's going against Ben DiNucci and Aaron Parker. There's a difference there. So I think I know what the cornerback depth chart looks like, at least for the start of this thing. Safety, not so much.
When we get to training camp and they do the one-on-one drills and stuff like that, I want to see Nashawn Wright against I want to at least see him against the Cedric Wilsons and Noah Brown level.
And
I want to see that.
Yeah.
Definitely like to see. I don't know if he's just boom, put him right there, but he's done a nice job, and he's exceeding expectations, which were in the dirt when he was drafted, obviously.
They were in the dirt, and now it's like they're here. Yeah. I'm like, well, yeah, come on, let's bring it down to the middle somewhere. It's funny because I've been reluctant to just proclaim things, but I think fans will probably be pissed as training camp winds down, and it's like, wow, like Kelvin and Nashawn aren't going to just grab this thing by the horns. Like, no, it's hard to play cornerback in the NFL, and the three guys at the top of the depth chart have been doing it a lot longer.
Other than his parents, nobody gets excited about Anthony Brown. They just don't.
No.
Nobody does. And that's just because he's just the guy that comes in and does his job. But, he's made a few plays in his career. He's probably one of the, top 10 tenured players on this team right now, just because he's been here 5 years. But he's solid. I think that's the best definition for him, and
which doesn't get people excited.
No, nobody gets excited about solid corners. But those Wright and Joseph, they've got to get to that level, and that's hard to do as rookies.
I just think the deck is stacked against those guys, and sorry if that bums people out. And maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe they'll be incredible. But unless somebody gets hurt, I think this top three corners, it's going to be hard to unseat those three, in my opinion.
All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. That's a wrap for us. We will be back once training camp begins in Oxnard, California. We will, the three of us will be at Oxnard. Amber will be taking a little time for
sure?
family time.
You're writing that down?
Well, Jerry has said it, so I'm betting on the fact that if Jerry has said it.
Jerry has said nothing about me being in Oxnard. The Cowboys, I assume, will be.
You're going to be in Oxnard.
Oh, okay, cool.
Trust me, you'll be in Oxnard.
Good to know.
Breaking news here.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, nobody's told
me
anything.
Go ahead and start packing your bags.
All right,
fine.
okay, cool.
We'll get you there. I'll make sure that happens. Amber will take a little family time. She'll be back with us at some point in the season. We'll see how that goes, and we'll probably be calling her and annoying her and making her give us some opinions throughout camp. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman, Amber Garcia, I am Derek Eagles, and this has been The Break live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?